Hello and welcome to the I Love Me Lab show. My name is Gail Buck, and I'm an NLP Master Life Coach, meditation instructor, and a seeker of happiness. And each week, we're going to bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover additional ways of self-care, self-love, and becoming a healthier, happier you. So thanks for spending time with us today, and let's let the show begin. Hello and welcome to the I Love Me Lab. I'm so excited to be here with my guest today, and I am here with Drs Arjun and Shobha Rayapudi. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Okay,
Yes.
so, and I'm going to read your bios a little bit because there's so much, I don't want to leave anything out. So Dr. Arjun is the general surgeon at Bering Peninsula Health Center. And I love this quote that you had. You have, I am a lifestyle surgeon. I can treat you with my surgical knife, or I can heal you with my chef's knife. You pick. I like that. That's powerful. You're certified by the American Board of Surgery, American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, and a fellow at Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Canada. You hold a plant-based nutrition certification from Cornell University and Dr. McGoogle's Starch Solution Certificate. And we have Dr. Shobha, and she is a physician, epidermatologist. I had to look that one up. How do you pronounce that?
So it is epidemiologist?
Epidemiologist and
Yes.
researcher. And you are certified by the American Board of Lifestyle. You have also your certification in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University, Master of Science degree in epidemiology
Yes.
from Johns Hopkins, and you work as a clinical researcher at the Johns Hopkins Center for Clinical Trials with principal interest on the effects of nutrition in preventing and reversing chronic diseases, which I absolutely love. And I also love that I wrote, you have pride in giving patients a choice of writing a healthy recipes instead of medication on their prescription pad. You help create mindset and conditions to build healthy habits that maybe people want, but they're not able to attain them on themselves. And you're also both certified yoga and meditation teachers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for taking the time to be with us here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having us, Gail. We're so glad to be here with you on your. We really love the title of your podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
me too.
love
Me too, because it's all about self-love and self-care, which is sounds like to me exactly what you guys are all about, right?
Yeah. So what we found is the way we treat ourselves is the way we treat the world. Like if we are loving to ourselves, then it comes back into everything that we do in it on a daily basis. It translates to into the work that we do. It translates to into the relationships that we have. It translates into everything. So all our effort at Gift of Health has been to improve that connection with self. That, and we have found different ways to do it. One is through food, the other one is yoga, meditation, lifestyle medicine. All these are basically just enhancing the self connection and the self love, the better health, being happier, more healthier, and sharing that with the world.
Awesome. And you are co-founders of thegiftofhealth.org, which
Hmm.
is, I think, where we're going to focus a lot of attention on today, because I went to the website and it is full of valuable information, including some very delicious, yummy recipes. But first, which I'm cooking after we get off done recording this podcast. So, but first, I wanted to ask you. So, what shifted you from traditional medicine to going more from? You actually say your body is programmed for health, for self healing, and nurturing your body with food that loves you back. So, what shifted from cutting with a knife to eating right?
Yeah. So I would say we are practicing a traditional medicine. It's not that we have gone away from it, but it's just like how the system is working. I know, like today, nowadays, we call this as a healthcare, but mostly it's a sickness care model. But by having this gift of health, we are trying to bring healthcare instead of sickness care. So where we are trying to uh, put people's health first, and also um, teach people like how they can be healthy. So I would say that's where we come from. But in traditional medicine, it's very hard to undo a lifetime of habits. So in that clinical setting, it's in just 10 to 15 minutes, it's very hard to undo that. So that's why in Gift of Health, we have just created another model where people can spend more time with us and also get help with changing their habits so that they can lead a very healthy life.
So we started out as a traditional doctors, and we both went through medical school. I did my surgery residency training, and Shobha did her further training in research, clinical research and epidemiology. When I started working here in Buren, in Newfoundland, this is rural Newfoundland, my first job as a surgeon, I've been so busy right from the day one. My first 2 years, I was like nonstop doing surgeries on patients with advanced cancers. Like this, during the time we learned that Newfoundland, this province in Canada, has the highest percentage of people with diabetes, heart disease, breast cancer, colon cancer, stomach cancer. So I was operating on patients who with aggressive cancers at a younger age in 40s and 50s, like breast cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer. And the other part of my work was like doing gastroenterology work, treating patients with gallstones, stomach ulcers, acid reflux, hemorrhoids, constipation, colitis. So I was busy with general surgery patients, busy with the gastroenterology patients, and I didn't have much time to even think what's going on. And but I was getting burned out, frustrated because no matter how much I was doing, but they were still coming back with something else after, like someone who if, operated with advanced colon cancer, took the cancer out. He went through the treatments, and a few months later, coming back with recurrence. And once I had a patient, a young patient, a mom of two, a teacher, like who was in 40s, and she had advanced breast cancer. Despite doing the mastectomy, removing the breast cancer, and going through further treatments with chemotherapy and all, like she had aggressive recurrence a year later. And despite all the advanced treatments, that it has spread throughout her body, and she didn't she did not survive the cancer. I still remember this happened like 10 years ago, and one of the hardest thing for me was to look in her eyes and say, there is nothing that we can do. uh, and unfortunately, that's not the only time. Even in my practice now, almost on a very frequently, once or twice a week, that situation comes, where we are giving the news to the patient and the family that, despite everything that they have presented, or what they have is so advanced that there's not much we can do. So 10 years ago, while this was happening, fortunately came through this documentary called Forks Over Knives, where I saw Dr. Caldwell Esselstein's work. Dr. Esselstein is a surgeon, and he showed that just by changing diet, simply changing diet, you can open up clogged blood vessels of the heart without medications and without surgery, just by changing diet. And that was just an eye opener. Like, it blew our mind away, because that's not something that we learned in medical school or residency training. And then we were like, what's going on here? When we went through that rabbit hole, we discovered that all this evidence for connection between food and health has been there for like decades. It's just that we were not taught, we were not aware of it. So we dug up about 1,000, more than 1,000 research articles connecting the food and health. And then once we started, what we do, like, it we are all about like doing evidence based. So once we were convinced that this is evidence based, we started applying that to our patients in the clinic settings. And I saw remarkable results, like where people who would come to see me for having gallbladder surgery, once they switched to a healthier plant based way of eating, not needing surgery. uh, Patients with like acid reflux getting better within few days of changing diet, constipation, hemorrhoids, colitis getting better within few days of changing diet. this is something that we noticed with the patients. Personally, I've experienced benefits, like I've lost over 60 pounds, have and kept it off. And previously, my diet was like a typical standard American diet or standard Canadian diet, you'd call. But after changing the diet, like I have more energy, more mental clarity, and enjoying that health and well-being, which made me a better doctor, better husband, better father in many ways. Then this thing of, okay, we know it works, we have seen it in the clinic setting, we have seen it in our own lives. We were asking, okay, how do we take it to the larger population? And that's where actually, like, we I come from a clinical standpoint, and Shobha has a expertise in taking whatever the clinical challenge into, uh, take it to people at a larger scale, at a population level. So there are many challenges when you try to deliver this in the clinic settings. Like, you only have 10 minutes, and you're trying to undo a lifetime of habits in those 10 minutes. So, and what we realized was, you need not just the information, you need the skills, and you also need the support. That's where, like, we created this gift of health program, where we address the connection between the food and health, the connection between the how the body and the mind works. And once the people understand, then we empower them with the skills, like how to cook, how to shop, how to read nutrition labels, and then provide them with support. Uh, and that we have seen, like, it's people with that skills, and lives being
Yeah.
changed, like people break free from diseases. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you actually have a course, which I want to get to in a little bit, because
Mhm.
that web, the giftofhealth.org website was just so full of beautiful information. You had a lot of video testimonials that were very convincing, as far as, oh my goodness, look what this woman did or this man did, by changing their eating, as well as the delicious recipes that you had on there, of course. But I wanted to ask you, so I have found that, I mean, you can get whiplash. I've paid attention to my health my whole life. I'm about to turn 65, and I would like to live to 120. And so, as I'm looking and searching for all the things on longevity, right, which of course is healthy eating as well. I mean, you hear the keto diet, intermittent fasting. I recently heard one that, the key to longevity is your muscle, right? Having really healthy muscle. And according to that one, you really need to be eating meat, right? So then you get into the protein space. So talk to me, the plant-based diet. I know there's always a debate on if you're able to get the enough protein and the right kinds of protein. For example, let me preface it with, in this example, they talk about how when you're reading the back of a label, and it'll tell you this percentage of saturated fats compared with whatever other kind of fats, and it breaks down things. But protein, it just says protein. It doesn't take, it doesn't include all the amino acids or whatever vitamins and whatever the protein is supposed to contain to be the best source of protein. How does that work? Are all proteins created equal? And being on a plant based diet, are you going to get enough of the right healthy protein so that you're building your muscle correctly so that I can live to 120 or 150 years old?
That's a wonderful question, Gail. And just like you, a lot of people have that question. So if you look at it, we do need nutrients. So like we do need protein, carbohydrate, fat, and we do need the micronutrients like vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, fiber, no doubt about it. So this these are the nutrients we definitely need. But how we take those nutrients also plays a role. Just like when you're buying a phone, you always look for best package. Don't you think, like when it comes to food, you also want to look at the best package which can actually provide you all this macronutrients and micronutrients? So let's say if we depend upon meat or animal based foods, is it going to provide everything? Is Obviously it's going to provide protein, fat, but is it going to provide vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber, which we need? as part of our food package. And food is doesn't come isolated, it comes as a package. So we always want to take the best food package, but when you look at the plant based, it's the best package available out there if you
Mm.
really look at it. It is rich in fiber, it is rich in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, it has protein, it has carbohydrate, it has fats. But media always tries to confuse us with protein.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. People think that protein is only present in meat. But if you really look at it, where is that animal getting the protein from?
From the grass and the grain and the,
Yes, so
yeah.
it is eating plants to get the protein. So here you we don't have to depend on animals to get the protein. In fact, like plants are the only thing on this planet which are capable of taking the sunlight, use their chlorophyll, and use the nitrogen to make the amino acids from which we get the protein. So they are the only thing on this planet capable of doing that. Animals
Mm.
cannot produce certain amino acids. Like we are capable of producing some, but we cannot produce the essential amino acids. So also when it comes to animals, they cannot produce some essential amino acids. So they have to depend on plants to get those. So here, all we are saying is, why don't you cut the middleman out? Why don't you directly get it from plants? Because they are the ones that are producing, and that is the best package. Because when you're eating food, you're not only getting protein, but you also want to avoid the unhealthy fat, you want to get fiber. So if you look at it, plant-based food is the best package where you're getting all the good stuff and you're avoiding
That
the
makes
unwanted
sense.
stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know also in the United States and probably Canada too, there's a lot of processed food, right? And I think every diet agrees that you have to eliminate or at the very least cut down on the processed food. So, how much of if the our high usage of processed food do you think contributes to the surgeries that you were speaking about a moment ago? Is our high level of processed food?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, see, the broadly speaking, you could look at food as into three food groups. One is the whole plant-based foods, and the other one is the animal-based foods, and then you have the processed plant foods. So just because something is plant-based doesn't mean it's healthy.
Right.
This is a trap that many people fall into, especially with the amount of plant-based foods that are springing up, amount of the vegan things that are springing up. Like the don't, it's very important not to fall into the trap of processed vegan foods or the processed plant-based foods, because if you look at the nutrient composition of the whole plant foods, like if you just take 500 calories of the whole plant foods and compare with that 500 calories of the animal based foods and 500 calories of the processed plant foods, the whole plant foods have much more nutrients than the animal based foods. And the animal based foods may have a bit more nutrients than the processed plant foods.
Mhm.
So processed plant foods, when we like when you where like you could have donuts, chocolates, and then cookies and some
Chips.
soda and chips, all like plant based, but there are not many nutrients in it. Like there not much fiber, lots of white sugar, all the nutrients are stripped off. So it's processed foods is an the addiction to junk food and the amount of junk food we are eating itself is a pandemic that we are dealing with. Uh, and one thing that we have found at Gift of Health is like the reason why we love these processed plant foods is one is that the taste of it. Then the other one is the convenience of it. Like, but what we found is that you don't have to compromise your health for taste and convenience, that you could find whatever the junk food or the processed food that you love to eat, you could find you could easily make healthier versions of it. So we teach our students how to make healthy junk food. Like you like chips or chocolate or cookie or pizza or ice cream or burgers or fries, cheese are not a problem. Let's see how we can plantify your favorite things so you don't have to feel like you're getting deprived.
Yeah, I saw on your website you have a recipe for. I think it's waffles with banana and the banana ice cream on it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I'm thinking, okay, how are they doing that without using eggs and milk and whatever,
Dairy.
right? But you didn't.
Mhm.
You used soy milk, and I don't remember if you used almond flour or something
No,
like that.
actually, for the waffles, we take oat flour. Basically, you can just take the rolled oats and you can give them a blend. You don't need to buy oat flour, and you take some stone ground spell flour. You take some
Flax seeds.
flax seeds and like you mix like grind it into flaxseed meal and then baking powder, just four ingredients, and you can make this dry pancake waffle mix, and then just take a cup of that and add a cup of soy milk or almond milk to it, and then you can fold in some blueberries or chocolate chips for special occasions and enjoy waffles. Like our son, he's 17, he'll be 18 in a couple of months actually.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
yeah, for it was a Father's Day weekend, right? Just a couple of days ago, and he made these blueberry waffles. He and we have the Shobha makes this dry pancake or waffle mix. We have it available, and all it does is just take that waffle mix out, mix this milk and blueberries, and we have a waffle maker. You don't need to use any butter or oil or Pam spray. It just so easy to make.
So that's my next question. No, I'm going to try that. It looks absolutely wonderful. So that's my next question. Oil. So a lot of the dieting and healthy eating that I have followed really recommends olive oil. There's a big push for olive oil, but I read in your information that you're like, no, 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 no oil at all, not even olive oil. Can you speak to that a little bit?
If you want to, yeah, go ahead.
So if you look at oil, does it have anything? For example, if I take olives, it has the fiber, it has the minerals, it has the nutrients. But if I just squeeze 40 olives, I'm going to get 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So when I'm squeezing the olives, I'm throwing away the fiber, I'm throwing away all the nutrients, and I'm just left with pure liquid fat.
If
So
you want to
it,
compare, if you take whole corn or whole beets, like beets have so many nutrients, like a corn has much lot of nutrients, and you process the heck out of that corn or beet, and you make beet sugar or high fructose corn syrup.
Mm,
So
right. Okay.
oil is like the equivalent of high fructose and corn syrup of the fat world.
Oh my goodness. See, that one's going to be a hard one for me because I do love my olive oil. That will be a hard one.
Yeah. So if you just look at the nutrition information of olives versus olive
Mhm.
oil, you'll notice that olive oil doesn't have anything other than pure liquid fat, and that just one tablespoon of olive oil, it takes about 120 calories, and you have to run a mile at least to burn it. And it's not just about that. Like oils also they increase inflammation,
Information.
they damage the inner lining of the blood vessels, and they just don't have much nutrients. Rather, you can include the whole fats, like if you include some pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, a few walnuts, almonds, cashews. Like, we are not saying it's a fat free diet, we are saying get the whole fats.
yeah, get the fats in the whole form rather than processed. So it's just like saying avoid the processed food because the processed food is not giving you much nutrients.
And the confusion about olive oil comes because, like, there are populations in the Mediterranean region who use olive oil as a part of their diet. But if you
Mhm.
look at their diet and compare it, like, apples to apples, their diet is not like what Americans or Canadians are eating. Their diet is heavily plant based. They eat
Yes.
so many chickpeas, they eat lots of whole grains, they eat lots of tons and tons of vegetables and fruits, and they work all day long. So if people across here want to adopt that lifestyle, you also have to look at, like, how many grains that they're eating, how many beans that they're eating, how many vegetables that they're eating, how active they are. But the problem with many of us is that, like, we love to hear good news about our bad habits. right? Oh, olive
Let's
oil,
eat a
I
lot of
love
fat,
it.
and we're going to lose weight and be healthy.
Yeah. And you get this like in front of all these like magazines, like you hear this no, eat fat to lose fat. That sounds good, but eat, if you see somebody writes like, eat beans and broccoli and like brown rice to lose fat, that's not so appealing, right? So it's and the marketing industry, they love it, like, how to fool us.
Well, and it's hard, and I mean, I don't want to get into the political part of it for sure, but it almost seems like we are a culture of give them a medicine for that, and go ahead and eat that, and then take you have what do you call agrudas, acid reflux. So you take the
Mhm.
pill for acid reflux instead of changing your diet, so maybe you don't have acid reflux anymore,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Le-
and that's
Yeah, it's always funny, like when you look at the TV advertisements.
I'm getting a call from the hospital. I'll let you answer this
Yeah,
one. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So when you look at the TV advertisements, it's they advertise about like all the different kinds of like burgers or fries and everything, and then the next advertisement would be
Yes.
about a medication. So those two ads you will be seeing all along.
Oh, I know. And then with the medication, it has all but if you take this, all these things can happen to you. And it's just, I don't know. I don't understand why we do that, why we put these things in our body that we know are not good for us. But it all comes from trusting the marketing, I
Hmm.
guess, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
And longevity. So would you then also say or agree that living primarily plant-based at least gives you a longer life? Is there any because I know you're a researcher, is there any research to support that?
Yeah. So when we want to live long, there are many things that actually help us. It's not only the food, but there are other things that play. So okay, what you're eating is definitely important. Are you moving your body? Do you have mechanisms to manage your stress? Are you sleeping well? Are you avoiding harmful substances? Do you have meaningful relationships? So all these
Mm,
factors play a major role for longevity. Let's say even if I'm eating well, like I'm eating the best diet, but if I don't know how to manage my stress, or if I don't have meaningful relationship, it's not that like you're living a quality life, right? Because
mhm.
even stress puts a lot of loads on our system. So all this, the other six factors also play. So when it comes to longevity, diet plays a role, physical activity, managing stress, avoiding harmful substances, sleeping better, and forming meaningful connections. So all the six uh, factors play a major role for longevity.
Now, in your practice, well, your meditation and yoga instructors as well, do you bring that into your organization, into the
Yeah.
giftofhealth.org? Is there
Yes.
practice in there?
Yes.
Yes. So what we found is like these six pillars of lifestyle medicine. Of all these, food plays a major role. Like food, we have noticed that especially when it comes to lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, high cholesterol, arthritis, acid reflux, colitis, Crohn's. Like if you take these lifestyle diseases, when you fix the food, almost 80 to 90% of them they get better. But there are like some patients who need much more than that. It's not just about the food. There are other factors, like we have accustomed to being a sedentary lifestyle, like a
Mhm.
lifestyle that is active. It boosts not only the physical health but also the mental health, and like learning how to manage stress in healthy ways, because our life, the typical lifestyle of ours is like inundated with so much stress. Like learning to cope with stress, and uh, focusing on like improving sleep, all these things, like we help like our students, like gift of health participants. We go in a sequential fashion. Like we start with food. We have like a 6 week program where we help them to use food as medicine, and basically using the foods that will basically love them back, and at the same time without feeling deprived. So once they're changing their diet more and more, then we encourage them to increase their activity, and we structure that in as well, like, because it's hard to do everything at the same time. So
Right. I would think that doing everything at the same time, there's more opportunity to just not see it through, right? It's just too
yes,
Yes.
much
yes,
change.
and that's what happened in our lives as well. We didn't do all these things at the same time. The food came in, the activity came in, and then we started like doing yoga and meditation. We found the first-hand benefits of it, like how we are more centered, more energetic, and more inclusive, like more loving and kind, not only just to um, to ourselves and the close family, but also, like, what we found is, like, with regular practice of yoga and meditation, you're just loving and kind and inclusive for no reason, and
Hmm.
that has a lot of benefits. Like, if you look at Dr. Dean Ornish's research, like he actually, in his book Undo It, he actually has a chapter, Love is Medicine, and how it's all these things like self-love and that having that nurturing connections with the friends and family members in the community, all these things play a huge role in our health and longevity. So uh, we actually have a year-long program for the people who have done the 6-week program, like um, who like to work deep on themselves, like improve that the self-love and self-connection and radiate that into the world. Like, so we are fortunate to work with, like, this highly motivated and committed group of people who are on this journey of self-exploration and self-love.
Okay, so I knew about the 6 week the food course, but
Mhm.
that's the beginning. Well, it's the beginning or solitary, whatever anybody wants to do, right? But that
Mhm.
can also be part of a bigger program where you're working on your overall self, and so that's kind of taking step by step,
Mhm.
putting the puzzle together in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. That's really good. Where can they find information about your course?
giftafl.org, and if they just go to the website and look at the tabs, like, work with us, there is area for, like, the food as gift of health, food as medicine course. And anybody, actually, we have a free course that is available. It's called Healthy Junk Food Course. Like, they could freely enroll and learn how to make healthy chips or pizza, rice. Not we don't have We have chips there, we have ice cream there, we have fries and chocolate, like these things, like the typical junk foods that we love. If you love to um, learn how to make them, and, like, so that you're not sabotaging, you can eat the junk food that doesn't sabotage you and will love you back. So
Wow, and that's great because it also gives the person an opportunity to get in there and get a taste of the 2 of you, right? I
yeah.
mean, and eating in that way, is this something that I'm gonna see through, that I wanna do, or it's
Hmm.
not my jam, or is it, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
so that's free. It's available on the website, and then the 6-week course is also, people can enroll from that. We
Yeah.
typically do 3 or 4 times every year.
Yeah. And the long-term program, the 1 year program, is by application only because it's for people who completed the 6 week course. So once they are done with that, they can apply for the 1 year long program.
How interesting. Now, people are so for example, I've been pretty blessed, and the only health thing that I have is I have high cholesterol, and I don't take medication for it, um, which I believe is hereditary. So what do you think about that? Is it my son is actually a doctor as well. He's an interventional radiologist, and he's very slender and eats very well, and also has high cholesterol. And I mean, how often do you see, or do you believe, or you don't, that it can
Well,
also be hereditary?
there is a definitely a role for genetics in the cholesterol. Like, there is a small percentage of people, their cholesterol is high because it's like familial and there's genetic factors. But at the same time, there is also a significant role for diet and lifestyle to lower the cholesterol. One person who did quite a bit of research on this is Dr. David Jenkins. He's a researcher from University of Toronto, and they compared, like, they took people who are on a regular diet and they put them on a plant-based high fiber diet, and they found that you can lower the cholesterol by almost like 30% within 2 months, which is
Wow.
equivalent, yeah, which is equivalent to what typical statin drugs do, and without any side effects. So and what we have noticed in our students, like who had high cholesterol, especially when they switch to a whole food plant-based way of eating. Even plant-based is a spectrum. One thing that many people don't realize is that plant-based is a spectrum. It is important to keep the grains intact. It's important, like rather than choosing the processed grains like the flour-based foods, going for intact grains like quinoa, barley, buckwheat, brown rice, steel cut oats, having more beans like chickpeas and beans, and more vegetables and fruits, and avoiding flour, oil, processed stuff.
Process.
Yeah, processed plant-based stuff. We have seen that the cholesterol also improve. The thing is, if you have done a whole food plant-based way of eating, increase the fiber intake, and still the cholesterol is high, then we do have people who will who require a small percent, a medication to maintain the cholesterol level.
Now, do you think because there's also, again, we're talking about whiplash, right? Different schools of, I don't know if you've read the book, I think Brain Grain or Grain Brain or something like that. Also plant based, right? But he didn't feel like how cholesterol is necessarily a bad thing. Do you have any thoughts on that, or are you familiar?
Well, the thing is this: just one number. You look at one number. If the total cholesterol is less than 150 naturally, your risk of getting any heart attack is virtually very, very, very little.
Hmm.
And as the total cholesterol goes beyond 150, as per the level raises, your risk of getting heart attack, stroke goes up directly proportional to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cholesterol does matter, like total cholesterol. Like we have interviewed many of our colleagues and like plant-based cardiologists. Like I think one of the talk is from Dr. Kaushik Reddy. Every week we do like a free discussions and Q&As on the Gift of Health page. As a part of that, we actually invite uh, experts in like in the lifestyle medicine, and we have interviewed many of them. Actually, one of them is actually Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who showed that with a plant-based diet, you can open up these cholesterol plaques and open up these clogged blood vessels. And the thing is, anybody who's seeing that cholesterol doesn't matter, they're just looking at the tunnel vision,
Mm.
right? So there is whole body of evidence that is showing that cholesterol level also matters. But uh, the problem with research is you could actually get lost, like focusing on one thing, you can
Yeah.
actually get lost. So that's why it's very important. Now it's good to have some tunnel vision in one area, but you also want to look at, like, okay, let's say we're gonna, for discussion sake, you say, no, okay, let's say if cholesterol doesn't matter and you can eat the cheese and the eggs and the butter and the chicken you want.
No, I don't think he was saying that. He was saying you still eat well, but no, I think he's plant based as well. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
grain
so
brain.
there
He
is
was broccoli is
plant-based.
the cover of his book.
No. See, the plant-based, like these, many people are actually using plant-based as a catchword.
Mm,
He's plant-based as well, but the thing is, even in the plant-based, there is spectrum. Like if you're more towards whole food plant-based, you see more benefits. If you have more fruits and vegetables, but the thing is, the one concept we saw in Grain Brain is that he's telling people not to eat any grains, like especially it's telling people, and research shows that the more whole grains we eat, the more fiber we get, less strokes. Like for every 7 grams of fiber you increase in your food, you're cutting down the risk of getting strokes by 7%. For every 10 grams of fiber you increase in your diet, which is the source, one of the main sources, the whole grains, you decrease the risk of getting a breast cancer by 7%.
wow.
So yeah, so like when you take out the grains, especially the like Grain Brain is all about, like, what, don't eat grains.
Yeah, and especially there also he talks about wheat sensitivity. So there are certain grains for which people might be sensitive. So in the population level, there might be 1% of people like who are sensitive to wheat or certain grains. So it's not discarding that, but we should recognize that as well. But it's not to generalize everything. So especially for people who are sensitive, we do want them to avoid, if they're sensitive to gluten or if they're sensitive to wheat, it's better for them to avoid that grain. But it doesn't mean that they have to avoid all the grains.
But that's
No,
only
it's
a
just
small percentage
yeah,
of
like
people, though.
yeah, I had a whole food allergy thing done just because I wanted to see, and I should not have gluten, but that didn't mean, and they made it very clear you can have all the other grains, just stay away from wheat, and for me, dairy, wheat and dairy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Unfortunately, most of those food allergy tests are not standardized.
meaning,
Like there is no there are not many food allergy tests that people get done. These are actually studied, like to be authentic. Like we have had people.
oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah. Like because see, this is a catch thing. Like you don't feel good about eating something, or like general typical, and people have go get these food allergy tests, and there are hundreds of food allergy tests that are available out there,
yeah,
but many of them are not actually studied to a great extent. And the truth about food allergies is that the more and more plant-based you eat, the whole foods, you as your microbiome, you might have heard that the food that you eat affects the gut bacteria,
yeah,
right? We have trillions of these gut bacteria. As your microbiome gets more diverse and more healthier, your food allergies, many of the food allergies
They
actually
go.
go away.
Yeah.
We
ah,
have seen people who come into a program with all kinds of food sensitivities and food allergies, uh, and thinking that they had this all kinds of sensitivities for several years. Within few months of eating more plants, eating more green leafy
basically
vegetables.
cleaning out their system, right? Getting
Yeah,
all
like the
clean so we can
more.
see what's really there.
Yes, and we have seen people their food sensitivities they don't hold anymore.
Yeah.
They're able to enjoy the foods that they thought they couldn't enjoy before.
Now, what about vitamins and supplements?
Well,
Yeah.
where do all the vitamins and supplements come from?
All from the food, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the plants, right? Like they are the main sources of the vitamins and supplements. You want to say, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but unfortunately, as you saw, like when we focus on protein, we focus on the meat, and animal-based foods do not have vitamins. So what are we doing? We are taking supplements to compensate for all the lack of nutrients that we are having. So
Which can
that
be
is,
very expensive too.
Yeah,
yes, yes.
it's
Uh,
expensive, and research actually shows that taking supplements without having deficiency is actually harmful.
Mm,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is one thing. And also, when it comes to
wow.
vitamins and minerals, if you're taking in the natural form, if it's coming from the food, that is the best way to get it rather than getting it from supplements. So, when you're getting it from supplements, it's not doing much good to your body.
When you take it from food, it is coming as a package. Because when it comes as a package, you're taking with phytochemicals, antioxidants, minerals, enzymes, like that, you're taking them together. Whereas if you take it as a supplement, you isolate it. Research shows that when you isolate something, like there is plenty of research done on it. Like you eat carrots, it's good for you. You take out, why take out beta carotene from carrots and take it as a supplement, it's actually showing up to be harmful.
Oh my.
Shobha,
Okay.
yeah, Shobha, like when she they did a research on like the
Broccoli
broccoli, yeah, broccoli
sprouted.
sprouts versus taking the active compound of the broccoli sprouts, and broccoli sprouts are more healthier compared to the taking the active compound from that,
Sulforaphane,
yeah,
yeah.
sulforaphane as a supplement.
That's my favorite vegetable. I can eat broccoli all day long. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, just eating vegetables, eating greens, eating
Yeah.
and
fruits,
fruit
and
too, right? Because some of the diets now will take you away from. Now, my father passed away 4 years ago at 90 years old or 91 years old, and he had he's a fruit farmer, but he had fruit every day. Like he couldn't not have fruit. But all there's so many diets there that say to stay away from fruit because of the
Hmm.
sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is, again, this is a tunnel vision, like
Yeah.
seeing sugar as sugar. You see, sugar is something that is utilized by all our cells in the body. Like our body has 100 trillion cells, and sugar is a principal fuel for our cells. The problem is that people confuse carbohydrates. When you are using processed carbohydrates, that is harmful. Like processed carbohydrates are like the white sugar, the white flour, the liquid sweeteners, and the most of the store bought candies and cookies, and like, so these are processed stuff. Like these ones, they increase inflammation, they cause glucose spikes. When the glucose spikes happen, the insulin spikes happen. When the insulin spikes happen, then that increases inflammation and a whole host of things. Whereas if you take uh, these sugars in the natural form, the way the mother nature packaged them, like in fruit, when you eat an apple or a banana or grapes or orange, you're eating the sugar, but you're also eating the fiber with it. You're
Yeah.
also eating the antioxidants and the phytochemicals and the minerals in it. So whatever the sugar that is coming through the fruit, it is gradually absorbed because of the fiber that is going with it. Whereas if you're taking the sugar in the processed form, the, that has like a higher spike in our blood sugar, where but the nature's package, like the candies, like the fruits, these ones, they raise the sugar gradually. People confused with the limited information, like they're
Yeah.
just focused on the reason for confusion is limited information. You just expand the
Limited
tunnel vision.
information, but everybody, it depends on who's talking louder at the minute, right?
Yes,
It's like,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
it's like I said, it's like whiplash, trying to get the best information and figuring it out.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
So,
basically, yeah, as you can see, basically, if you depend on animal-based food, you have to depend on supplements too, because you're not getting that from food, so you're trying to compensate with other means. But if you depend upon Mother Nature, the way she has packaged the food for us, if you eat it, we don't have to worry about anything. We don't have to worry about getting the protein. We don't have to worry about getting vitamins and minerals. So if we just eat what Mother Nature has provided, we are good.
good. And changing to a plant-based diet is good at any age. Yes?
yes, yeah,
Yes. It's just like I think the older we get, maybe it's just a mindset thing or
yeah,
stubbornness thing, right? I
yeah.
know that you
See,
had a story about your father as well, right?
yes, yeah, and he didn't change his diet until like he was 65, and within 3 months he was able to get rid of medications for diabetes, high
Mhm.
blood pressure, and high cholesterol, and avoided having surgeries on the heart. Like he was told that needs to have bypass surgery, but when he switched to a plant-based diet, he never needed stents, didn't need any bypass surgery. Yeah, so it's and I was just gonna share like the longest living populations. If you look at the blue zones, like where people typically live to 90s and hundreds,
Hmm.
Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Okinawa, Japan, Loma Linda, California, all these populations, these are plant based. 95, 90 to 95% of their calories were pretty much coming from plant based. If you go to Loma Linda, California, they were getting almost 100% of the calories from the plant based.
Well,
So there is not even a single study. I mean, to answer that sugar question again, there is not even a single study showing actually fruit is harmful for you.
hmm.
I think if somebody shows me that eating fruit is like causes you some disease, I'm ready to hang up my plate.
Well, I tell you, my father was 91 and he had fruit every single day. He ended up with pancreatic cancer and it took him out pretty quick. But even like 2 months before he died, he was out in the orchard planting
Mhm.
trees. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just, and he lived by fruit every day. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I want to respect your time. I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us today. I have so many more questions and maybe I can get you guys back at a later time. But this is the I Love Me Lab podcast. And so if there's like one thing, and I know you shared a lot of things that we can do to take care of ourselves, but one thing that you could share with the listeners on a way to show self-care and self-love in that I Love Me laboratory, what would be that one ingredient that you would give them?
My top thing would be, eat the foods that love you back.
Mm,
right? And the food, you don't have to compromise like the the health and the taste. They can go together. uh, just learning to incorporate more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains and beans. These foods love you back. Like, um, and when our body is well, the body and mind is are connected. And when our physical health is well, our mental health also improves. Like these foods, research actually shows that when you eat more fruits and vegetables, you are healthier and happier because they boost the levels of serotonin, dopamine, endorphins in your blood. So just focusing on the eating the foods that love you back, and also moving more, like staying active. That's the best self-care, I
It's
would say.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say when it comes to loving ourselves, I think that is the basic step or the initial step for all of us to take. Because when we love ourselves, all things fall into place.
Yeah.
When we love ourselves, we definitely think, what is the best thing that I can put in my mouth? Or what is the best thing that I can do for myself? Only when we love ourselves, we will know how to love others, and how to form meaningful relationships. So I think loving ourselves is the basic step, but sometimes we think that as a highest thing to achieve. But I would say that is the first step to achieve. Why not go for that?
It's like a foundation, right? To get everything else
Mhm.
better.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. If anybody wishes to reach out to the doctors, you can find them on giftofhealth.org. And we have some other links that we'll post with this podcast. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for being my guest and sharing all of your information. I appreciate it so much. I'm so glad that I kept pursuing you to come back. So,
So
Yeah.
glad to
so
be here, Gail. Thank you so
Yes.
much for having us.
Yeah.
thank you. And thank you all for listening. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this conversation. If you enjoyed it and want more information on our guests and resources, please visit ilovemelab.com. And please, if you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share with a friend. Hey, there's more great episodes to come. So until next time.